Hello, welcome to Snails and Fairy Dust and Happy New Year. This is my first video on YouTube for 2025 and actually my first video for a while on YouTube because back in September I started a membership program called Bead Camp, and I've been putting a lot of my time and effort into creating content over there and new patterns and just getting to know everyone in Bead Camp. If you are interested in joining, I will put the link below. We're having a great time over there. But today, I'm going to show you how to make this necklace. I call it a meditation necklace. And if you followed any of my socials over the month of December, you would have seen clips of it on the way of me making it. And I know a lot of people have become invested in seeing the final product. So I wanted to show you guys what it looks like all finished. And in this video, I want to talk you through how I made it and give you some tips and tricks and inspiration of how you can create your own and sort of discover yourself and your own style of beading while you're making it. So let's get started and get your beads out.
So to get started, I have size 11 Miyuki Delica beads. I've tried to choose them in colors that I know I would want to wear a lot. I have a 6-pound weight fire line is my beading thread, and a size 12 beading needle. I'm going to put a little stopper bead on the end of my thread just to keep my first few rows from coming off. So I take one bead, slide it down towards the end of my tail, leave about a 3-inch tail, and then come around and come back through it. And that is going to keep your beads from falling off. And then I'm going to pick up 9 beads because this is an odd count peyote stitch. So I'm picking up 9 beads in whatever color. There's no pattern for this project. It's really just about you sort of discovering your pattern on the way. So I'm going to take those 9 beads, slide them down. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to start with the same color for a little while. And I'm going to pick up 1 bead, skip the first bead, and then go through the second bead. And then you should have something that looks like this. And then I'm going to repeat that process, skip the next bead, and go through the bead after it. And then I'm going to do that again and continue all the way across in that manner. And I know many of you may have already learned how to do peyote stitch with me on one of my ring projects. And if you have, this should be really familiar. Here I am at the last bead. Oops. I must have got caught on something, but here I am at the last bead, and I don't have a bead to skip because that silver one is the stopper bead. So because we're doing odd count peyote stitch, I need to pick up a bead, and then I'm going to go through that first bead and the one below it. It's sort of a diagonal, and then the last bead I was exiting. So sort of like that, exactly like that, not sort of. And so when I pull that down, I'm going to flip that little bead over, and now it's right where it's supposed to be. And so we need to get our needle back up so we can start the next row. So I'm going to cross over and come up the one below and the one in the middle, pull that through, and then I'm going to come through the same bead that has the stopper bead. And now we can exit that new bead that we've just added. And we're ready to start our next row. I like to flip my work, so I'm always working from my hand up. So I flip that over, and now we're just going to work up to the top, adding beads in between each of those little up spaces. So in the down space, your bead is going to go, and your needle goes through the little up beads. Like that. And so you just keep going across in that manner. And like I was saying before, so you may know how to do peyote stitch already from one of my other videos. I have several videos teaching this. So if you feel like you need more, you could go back and take a look at those videos. Because we're just going to sort of speed through this. And now I flip it over again. I can get rid of that stopper bead. And then I pick up a bead, and now I'm going through all of those uppy beads, like the ones that are sticking up. And we're just going to go through that quickly now. And I just want to show you again, well, I want to show you the tricky turnaround. So that first turnaround is not tricky, but this next one is in odd count. So now I'm at the end again, and I don't have a bead to go through. So what I'm going to do is pick up my bead, and I'm going to bring it through that sort of outside thread bridge on the edge of my work, and then flick it into place. And then you come through that new bead you've just added. So the weird little diagonal turnaround is only on the very first row. All of the other rows will have this sort of turnaround, and it's only going to be every other row. The nice thing about using odd count for this project is you have a definite center. And when you have a definite center, it's sort of easier to come up with your design and build a design off of it, which is why I decided to go with odd count for this. But if you are more comfortable with even count peyote stitch, then by all means do even count. And you can go as wide or as small as you want. Here we are at that little tricky turnaround again. Just wanted you to see it one more time. So you go under that outside thread bridge, flick that guy into place, and then right back through that bead that you've just added. And that's it. That is the whole necklace. But the necklace is going to take you a long time. My ending necklace is 36 inches long. And that took me, it took me quite a few days. And so you just want to just keep going at it. Don't try to get it all done at one time. Take your time. Here I am starting a new thread. You're going to go through so much thread in this project. So just make sure you're stocked up before you start. To start a new thread, I'm just going to weave my old thread back into the piece and then sort of weave it around two beads to make a sort of it creates a tension so that you don't have to make a knot. And the more times you sort of go and change direction, the more tight it's going to be. I mean, this really isn't going to go anywhere at this point, but I tend to overdo it when I'm weaving my threads back in. So you just do that. And then when you start a new thread, you're going to reverse the process. I'm just going to finish that up. And you see here how my designs are just starting to build up. I generally like to start with a center bead and work my design from there. But, whatever you want to do. I find that it's easy with the center bead to sort of work off of there because then everything's balanced. But I've also, in parts of this necklace, have definitely not started with the center bead. So here I am starting the new thread. I'm just going to pick a spot sort of below where I ended the last one. We don't want to go through a spot where there's too much thread already. If you ever have trouble getting your needle through a bead, then choose another bead because you don't want to break your bead. That recently happened to me on a different project, which hadn't happened in ages. And it's just so heartbreaking when that happens. I had someone ask me in bead camp, what can you do when a bead breaks? And like, really? There's nothing to do. I just had to sort of feel bad for her because it's a tragedy. So never push through beads. Don't manhandle them. Just go gently. So I'm working this thread back up to where I would have ended. Also, when you're ending a thread, try not to end in the middle of a row. It's just so much easier if you end on the end of a row or the start of a new row, but don't do it in the middle. That's just silly. And it's unnecessary. And always leave yourself enough thread to weave in properly. Sometimes you go a bit too far and then you're like, oh, you can't really thread your needle and, do what you need to do. Okay. So I'm about to exit that last one, and then I could just carry on. Here we go. Now we just carry on like normal. So anyway, as far as sort of color theory, I picked colors I like to start with. And then from there, just play around. I mean, I want this necklace to be about you playing and enjoying your time. Someone in bead camp made a meditation necklace based on me sort of getting them started. And she made the most gorgeous necklace. I couldn't believe it. And she finished it way before me. And she sort of added in her visions for the year. Like she was thinking of like Mediterranean trips. And so there's a fish in there and it's so beautiful. So really just have fun with this. I want you to play with this, have fun with this. You're going to love wearing it because you're going to know all of the sort of love and energy you put into it and the peace that it brought you when you were making it. And I think hopefully that will carry with you into your day. And so now we're going to put this together. Make sure you don't have any bends or folds. You want it to like lie on top of each other just like that. And you want to make sure your ends, one side is the opposite from the other side. So one side will start on up beads and one side will start on down beads. And it's just like when we're making rings, if you watched any of my ring videos. So you see one side has the up beads and one side has the down beads. And when we put them together, it's like a zipper. So that's how you want it to be at the end. And if it's not like that, add one more row to one side and then it will be. And then to close this up, we're going to go back and forth across through the up beads. And then when we pull it tight, we'll have a nice little zipper closure. So, so if you have my Peyote stitch book, which you could get on Amazon or you get a digital copy from my website, that has blank design pages at the back. So if you really did want to not bead in the moment, then you could use those design pages to design out some ideas for yourself for your meditation necklace. You could also use patterns from that book. I think I have a free bracelet pattern for odd count as well on my website. But you could use the bracelet patterns from that book to get you started with your meditation necklace. I mean, maybe it's good to have a starting point, but then from there, like, I really encourage you just to know that there are no mistakes, right? There are no mistakes in this. You can go change your colors when you want. You could change whatever pattern you're doing. Just really allow yourself to be free and have fun with it. Think of it like sketching, playing with crayons or something, just let yourself go. This should be a nice, peaceful process. And I think as beaders, especially if we make beadwork to sell, it can become, the fun gets sort of sucked out of it when you're like, oh no, I messed up this bead and now I can't sell this thing. And this is for yourself, hopefully, or you could do it for anyone. But if you think of it in a way where there are no mistakes and you're just having fun, then it sort of changes the process and it allows beading to be this sort of magical thing again, which people have been beading for millions of years. I don't know about millions. I guess not millions. That's an overstatement. Thousands of years. I mean, they have found beadwork in Egyptian tombs. It's ridiculous. It's amazing to me. I always think about how when people were just barely surviving, they still took time to make beads and make beautiful things to adorn themselves. And I think there's something to that because it brings something to your life that is important and has been around with us for a long time. So I'm hoping that this project will sort of help you connect to that, especially at this time of year when it is winter and cold and dark and the days are short. And it's just nice to have a heartwarming project to work on. And I've just chalked over all of this, but basically I'm just weaving in my thread. I zipped up that little closure. And now I'm just taking my thread end and I'm weaving it back into my piece to make sure it's nice and secure. And then I'll give it a clip and we're all done. And if you are brand new to this, I do suggest you go back and watch one of my other videos on Peyote Stitch, which are much more detailed. And actually, I'll link them below. I'll link an odd stitch peyote, an odd count peyote stitch below, so you could watch that video and really take your time to get to know it. But this video is more about just inspiring you, honestly. Wow, I really took a long time to weave this in, and sorry about where it went out of camera a little bit. That last little bit with the blue sort of little leaves on the side, I think that was one of my favorites that I came up with during the necklace. When I wear it, that's the part I always sort of pull down to the front because I like that part a lot. So here we go with a little clip, and we are all done. I hope you will try this. I hope you will find some pleasure and joy and creativity from it. And Happy New Year!